Hello and welcome back to another episode of What is Nothing But Jesus. My name is Aaron and I'm so happy for you guys to be here and check out this series we're doing. We are asking this question to people from all over the church, everything from brand new believers to the pastor of our church. And today we are here with a very special friend of the church. His name is Tullian Tchividjian.
Perfect.
Is that right?
Yes,
all right.
perfect, Aaron.
Every
well
time
done.
I think I'm right and then I try.
No,
I'm like,
well done.
Okay,
well
cool.
done.
It's like
Rhymes with religion.
Religion with a
Tchividjian.
CH.
Yes,
Easy.
yes,
Awesome.
perfect. Yeah.
We could write a song about you. It'd be
Yes,
so easy
yes,
to remember.
I think you should.
so easy to rhyme. But you are the pastor of, what's the name of your church?
The Sanctuary in Jupiter,
Sanctuary.
Florida, which is just north of West Palm Beach, Florida, which is about 45 minutes north of Fort Lauderdale, Florida,
Awesome.
where I grew up.
Yeah. So if you happen to be in that area, come check out the Sanctuary.
Come check out the Sanctuary. Yeah. Jupiter,
Awesome.
It's like paradise down there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And you are also the grandson of Billy Graham.
Yes, I am.
And
Yep.
that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have a ton of stories with that.
I do. A ton. I
But
do.
for now, let's stick to the question that we have here today,
Yeah.
which is, what does nothing but Jesus mean to you? Which is an interesting question to be asking you because you wrote a few books, but specifically two books that we've studied as a church that really delves into kind of the whole belief of our church.
Yeah.
And so it's great to have you here and be
Yeah.
able to ask you this question
Yeah.
specifically. So
Yeah, I did. I wrote a book over 10 years ago now called Jesus Plus Nothing Equals Everything. And the premise of that book was a personal experience I had. I had been a Christian for many years, but I had always grown up believing that the gospel was something non-Christians need to believe in order to become Christians. And then once you become a Christian, you don't need the gospel anymore. Almost like the gospel was the ABCs of the Christian faith, but not the A to Z of the Christian faith. And I was in a despairing season of life back in 2009. And I was sitting on the balcony of a place that I had rented for my family to be on vacation and was having it out with God, arguing with God. And through a variety of different circumstances, God made it very clear to me that all of the acceptance and all of the approval and all of the love and all of the security and all the significance and worth and value that I was craving and looking for in other people, relationships, circumstances, reputation, all that stuff was already mine because of what Jesus had done. So nothing but Jesus to me means life. It means hope. It means perspective. It helps me navigate the difficulties of this life. So much of what we struggle with is internal. Circumstances have a part to play, but so much of it is how we are internalizing those circumstances or processing those circumstances. And when you can process difficult circumstances knowing that you are unconditionally loved by God, that you are forever accepted and approved by God, that you're in with God no matter what, it helps you significantly. You expect less from other people, which is always wise. Sometimes we expect way too much from other people. So you expect less from other people, you expect more from God. And it's freedom. I guess if I were to sum it up in one word, what does nothing but Jesus mean to me? I would say freedom, liberation.
yeah, absolutely. It's that ability to distance yourself from either the person you've been or honestly the person we are day to day that we don't like, the person that we want to be able to get rid of, you know?
Right, yeah.
It's one of those things with Jesus. I'm at an age now, I'm 30, I'll be 35 next week. I'm older than Jesus was when he died.
Yeah.
And that's a weird place to get to realize okay, so Jesus was 100% God, but he was also fully human.
Yep.
And a person younger than me had to know what it felt like to have all of his closest friends betray him, deny him, all of that right before he was murdered.
Yeah.
And he still loved them.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such an applicable thing to our life to say you know what, let's just continue to love and to do what we know we need to do and to get to that point. So
and it's impossible to even want to do that without knowing how much you are loved by God. And one of the things that, I talk about pretty regularly is when you know that you are loved by God, you don't need everybody else to like you as much.
Oh, totally.
And that is incredibly liberating. And it actually frees you to be more honest, to tell the truth about yourself. Because if I tell the truth about myself to you, and that's too scandalous for you, and you walk away from me, I may not like it, but I'll be okay because God will never walk away from me. I can endure the rejection of others because I never have to endure the rejection of God because of what Jesus has done. So, I mean, it's life, it's hope, it's freedom, ultimately.
Absolutely. And I think that what you talked about with the honesty there, like sometimes when we're honest, like other people might judge us and might even think worse of us than if we just were dishonest about it.
Right.
Like I grew up in a situation where, you know, it was a very strict Christian upbringing, like growing up and stuff. And so sometimes, you know, I found it was easier to be dishonest.
Of course.
Because my parents won't get as mad.
Right.
Blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then as you get older and you realize it's like, well, God already knows what's going on.
Right.
And technically, whether we're honest to ourselves or not on the inside, we know if we're being honest or not, right?
Yeah.
And so when we start to be honest with others and with ourselves, it really is the fruit. When they say that the truth will set you free, 100%.
Yeah,
true.
absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I mean, churches and religious circles are places where people fake it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, so much mask wearing happens inside the church. So little truth telling about themselves happens inside the church. And I think that is the result of messages going out from the religious community, from the church, that is something different than nothing but Jesus.
Totally.
When you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, like I said, that you are loved, accepted, approved by God, then other people's approval, other people's acceptance, while you may enjoy it, if you get it, you don't need it in order to survive, because all of the love you need, you already have. All of the acceptance you need, you already have. All the approval you need, you already have. So that endows your life with some boldness as well as freedom, that I feel the freedom to be honest, to tell the truth about myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, knowing that God will never blink, God will never bail because of what Jesus has done for me. I'm in with God forever, and nothing can ever change that. My good behavior doesn't make God love me more, and my bad behavior doesn't make God love me less. And that's very freeing to know that and to believe that.
So with that, and I think this is an important question that a lot of people ask. So then what would you say is your reason to try to be better and to hold yourself to that higher standard?
Yeah, I don't know if I would phrase it so much in terms of trying to be better. I think over time, when your heart and your mind marinates in this message of grace, change starts happening organically. It's almost impossible not to change. When you are loved over and over and over and over again in the face of your ongoing failures, it softens you. It sort of sands off the rough edges, and you wake up one morning and you go, well, I'm not as angry as I used to be. I don't hold grudges as much as I used to. I forgive a lot quicker now than I used to. And I haven't even really been trying. It's just happened. And so I the way that I talk about it is, as we sort of soak in the hot tub of God's grace and forgiveness, the changes that need to happen, that down deep we want to happen, start happening. It's very organic. And I think what happens is when we focus our attention on, I need to change, I got to get better, it starts to become pretty narcissistic, because now
an idol.
It is. And it becomes narcissistic because now I'm thinking a lot more about me and what I need to do rather than God and what he's done for me. And so I call that spiritualized navel gazing, where you're constantly worried about, how am I doing? Am I getting better? Am I doing the right thing? Am I improving? All that kind of stuff. Rather than just soaking in the grace and the mercy and the forgiveness and the love of God, and trusting that the changes God wants to make in your life, he will make in your life as you sit under that message, as you soak in that truth.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard a podcaster once say, when he was talking about his kids, and God is the ultimate father, right? So he was talking about his kids, and he said, I always tell my kids, like, obviously they're going to mess up. They're going to be dishonest with me at times, but I want them to know they never have to be.
Right.
And that I will always tell them that I will reward them with even if it's bad news that they're coming to with it, right? The fact that they were honest with me, I will reward them for that. And when I heard that, I was like, how much more does God do that in the ultimate way, right? Like, he just wants us to be honest and upfront and like forthcoming with, who we are as not trying to deny it to ourselves, right? It's easier to lie to ourselves than it is to other people, and to tell ourselves that, but the reality is we just need to be able to accept the forgiveness that God's already given us and give ourselves that same forgiveness. Because as easy as it is to lie to ourselves, it's even it's hard to forgive ourselves a lot of times. Sometimes we're the last person to forgive ourselves.
Yeah, and I think I heard somebody once describe faith or define faith as relaxing like we would in the presence of one who we know loves us no matter what. And I think there's so much freedom in that. There's so much truth in that, to go, what does faith lived out really look like?
Yeah.
Exhaling, relaxing, trusting that everything I need, I already have, because God in the person of Jesus has delivered that to me for free. So like you said a few minutes ago, quoting Jesus, the truth in essence does set us free. It sets us free from the need to be liked. It sets us free from the need to justify ourselves. It sets us free from the need to pretend. It sets us free on so many levels and in so many ways, because I said it before and I'll say it again, the acceptance that down deep all of us long for, the love down deep that all of us long for, the desire to be fully known and fully loved simultaneously that all of us have inside us has been fully met. And to rest knowing that we live our lives under a banner that reads, "It is finished." It just endows us, and it gives us the ability to enjoy life rather than always seeing everything out there as a threat and an enemy. You begin to see God sort of everywhere. And it's very freeing.
Instead of looking at it as things of like, why is this happening to me? You look at it as like, this is what it is. This is all a part of the plan. And it's going to lead to something different. This is a silly analogy, but I have a pacemaker, right? I have a defibrillator that keeps me alive. I've also never tried any hard drugs.
Yeah.
And I like I told you earlier, I play in a band, right? I know a ton of people that have.
Yeah.
And this seemed like a negative my whole life, right? Why would I have this? But now as an adult, I look at it and like, where would my life be if maybe I didn't have the ability to say, sorry, I have a heart problem. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, who knows? There's no way to know.
Yeah.
But it's that essence of sometimes those things that might seem like a negative in the time, in the long run, when we just trust, there's a reason for them. Yeah. And they all happen to lead to something else. And they all happen for some sort of reason to better our lives or others' lives or just the greater scheme of the entire world. We'll never know.
Right.
And sometimes, long after we're gone, those impacts remain, you know, and that's what I think is so cool about the gospel, about music, about things like that, where even after we're gone as a physical human, right, our impact, the words we've said, the things we've taught, those things remain longer than us, even when we're on the other side. You know?
Yeah.
So,
which is good news.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So then, second question.
Okay.
Where's an example where you've seen nothing but Jesus applied in your life?
Man, I've had a couple of seasons in my life where I have crashed and burned hard. Yeah. Lost friends, went through a divorce about 10 years ago. My family unit, as I knew it, was broken up, feeling really, really low, feeling like I was alone in this world. And it was in those moments and when I was at rock bottom where God's friendship became real to me in a brand new, bright, and liberating way. Because as I was watching people walk out of my life, in some cases for understandable reasons, God never blinked. He never bailed. He never left. He promises that he will never leave us. He'll never forsake us, no matter what. And, I mean, there were times where I literally felt like the only person who knows me, the only person who loves me, the only person who likes me, and the only person who will never leave me is Jesus. Mm-hmm. And as much as I hated those seasons in my life, for God to prove his friendship to me in the face of lost friendships elsewhere was a gift. And it was just a reminder. I tell people all the time that I don't recommend intentionally crashing and burning or hitting rock bottom. But the fact of the matter is when you do, if you do, and when you do, and it's only a matter of time that you do, it's, at some point in your life, God proves his promises to be true in those moments. God's promises are easy to believe when life is going well, but when life really goes south and you are experiencing the consequences of your own foolish, sinful decisions, and God has every reason in the world to walk away from you, and rather than walking away from you, he puts his arm around you and looks at you with a smile and says, I ain't going anywhere, dude. Nowhere. You're stuck with me forever. That's a gift that, that is incredibly comforting and incredibly freeing at the same time.
That's amazing. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. We talk about the prodigal son story so often, but we always tell it from the view of the father.
Yeah.
From the brother. Oh, this is my son that's returned home. We rarely talk about it from the perspective of the son that left and that went through all of these things and probably felt embarrassed to come back to his father and embarrassed to be honest to his father. And like, my last resort is to come back to my dad who I screwed over.
Right.
And how many times as Christians do we have to fall on our knees before God who we've screwed over in our own decisions that we've made while he's looking up there and saying like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, this isn't what I want for you, but I have to allow you to go through it.
Yeah.
So, and then we come back and we say, I've drank from the troughs.
Yeah.
I've eaten with the pigs and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Here I am. And this is what I am. And I hope you can accept me. And what does he say? Slay the fattened calf. Like our son is home. Like I'm so, and like, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, it is. And there's a writer that I really love by the name of Robert Capon. He's dead now. But in retelling that story, that parable, I forget his exact wording, but he says, as the son is making his way back home, head hung low, ashamed of the decisions he made and the way he took advantage of his father, before he can even get one word of confession out of his mouth, the father like runs, wraps his arm around him and says, just shut up, man. There's a party waiting.
None of that matters.
Right. And it's just it's a beautiful thing and I think a lot of Christians get confused. They think in order to get God's forgiveness, we have to confess, and our confession has to be real, and it has to be sincere, and it has to be pure, and all these conditions. And what we see in that story is it was the father's forgiveness that prompted the confession. It wasn't the confession that prompted forgiveness. And that order is super important. It's almost like grace and forgiveness come first. Confession comes second. In fact, if we weren't certain that we were forgiven, if we weren't certain that we were going to be given grace, we would never confess because it wouldn't feel safe. And so, it's a beautiful story. And I have found myself acting as the prodigal son many times over the course of my 50 years of life. So I relate to it.
But you know what? I think that admitting and acknowledging that we've been that is a huge part of the process, right? Because there's so many people that have been that and would never. Right. Well, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I've never.
No, it's huge. Yeah,
I've always been in control.
Well, and I think like I said before, belief in the gospel endows me with the ability to go, dude, I have been a train wreck mess. I've hurt people. I've betrayed people. I have taken advantage of people. I have manipulated people I can say that stuff because I know that God already knows it. God's forgiven me for it. My acceptance and my approval come from God and God alone. So I can tell those things and not worry about whether other people accept me or approve of me or even like me or love me. And that's huge.
Well, it's like they say it in if you go to an AA class or anything, they always say, accepting you have a problem is the first step to recovery.
First step.
And it's it's even more prominent with God, just being able to acknowledge all right, I messed up, but not with the sense of I think it's kind of the same reason a lot of people go to counselors or therapy, because you can be completely open and honest with somebody that you know that's not going to judge you, whereas your spouse might or parent might or something. Yeah. And God is that times 10.
Right.
There's nothing that you can say that you've done that people didn't do directly to Jesus.
Right.
But worse.
Exactly.
So I think it's that's an incredibly freeing position and humbling position to know that somebody that didn't mess up at all can hear about us messing up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Dude,
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for
It's
having
been
me.
Great talking to you.
Yeah, good talking to you
absolutely.
too, man.
I'm looking forward to hearing you talk tonight.
Thank you.
I wish you a safe trip back to Florida.
Thanks, man.
And
Thanks,
if you
man.
are interested in learning anything more about Tullian, you can check him out online. It's Tullian Now I messed it up this time.
Where you want to give
Tchividjian.
them Tchividjian. Yeah.
Tullian Tchividjian.
Yeah.
And you can check out the books. He's written 8 at this point.
8 books. Yeah,
8
the most
different
recent
books.
one is Carnage and Grace. Confessions of an Adulterous Heart came out a couple months ago. It's a raw memoir of the last 10 years of my life. So
Where you've been able to be honest, like we've just been talking about.
Yes, yep, exactly.
So look, if you are at a point in your life where you feel like you have hit rock bottom, you feel as though you have nothing left, and you feel as the things we've talked about today have impacted you, just know that God loves you, that we love you. We are Reach Church. We are located at in Bear, Delaware, and you can visit us at 10 a.m. on any Sunday. And your church is in Juniper, Florida?
Jupiter,
Florida.
like the planet. Yeah,
Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, Jupiter, Florida. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you can, what time are your services?
10:30 a.m.
10:30 a.m.
Yeah, one service. Thank
Awesome.
God. We'll never go to more than one.
We're
I
at
don't want
10
to do it
a.m.
more than once.
Yeah. It's wild. It divides people.
Yeah,
in a,
I love it. I mean, we've got overflow. If we can't fit them all, but
better to
I
have that than to
love it.
split.
I agree.
I love that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's great talking with you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. We're done.
Perfect,
Awesome,
man.
Thank
Rock
you.
and
That was
roll.
great.